RCI, Monday to Friday, 12:45 to 2 p.m. The Lunchroom. Informative, enlightening, provocative, engaging. The Lunchroom on RCI. Food for thought. The station that gives you, more lunch.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. It is Monday the 14th of October 2024 and this is program number 1262 of the Lunchroom, and I'm your host Alex George Jr. Now, in addition to 101.1 FM radio, you can also get us at our website rcistlucia.com. We're streaming live there, and you can also download our previous shows on that platform. And we are also up and running on Facebook Live, streaming live there, and you just have to search for the official page of Radio Caribbean International. Please be sure to like and share that link as well with your friends and family. And don't forget, of course, if you want to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, the number to do so is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. And our WhatsApp number, it is 724-0008. You can call in to that number, or you can message in on WhatsApp. Again, that number is 724-0008. Now, we want to send out some birthday greetings for today. And first, I want to send out some to my dad, Sir Alex George. And he turns 85 years today. So happy birthday to him. And, of course, to many, many more years of health and happiness. Now, as well, to Mrs. Callista Mondesi, happy birthday to you and wishing you an absolutely fantastic birthday celebration. Hope you're enjoying it fully. Also to Mr. Jason Alcius, happy birthday to you, sir, and we do hope that you're having a fantastic birthday. And also to Miss Nikki Joseph, happy birthday to you, and we're wishing you a fantastic birthday as well. Bit of a look at the history of the day. On this day back in the year 1066, a very famous Battle of Hastings occurred between William, the Duke of Normandy, and his Norman army invading and defeating the English forces of Harold Godwinson, who was in fact the King of England at the time, and killed in battle. 1322, on 14th of October, Robert the Bruce of Scotland defeated King Edward II of England at Byland, forcing Edward to accept Scotland's independence. 1774, on this day, the First Continental Congress of the United States made a declaration of colonial rights in Philadelphia. 1867, on this day, the 15th and last Tokugawa shogun, Tokugawa Yoshinobu, resigned in Japan. George Eastman patented the paper strip photographic film in 1884 on this day. October the 14th, 1933, saw Nazi Germany announcing its withdrawal from the League of Nations. That's a precursor to the United Nations. And in 1982, on this day, U.S. President Ronald Reagan proclaimed a war on drugs. We now move on to our dish of the day. The daily dish is brought to you with the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. With all kind of tiles, come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasway and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Jugosile, and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to our program for today. And And of course, we do hope that everybody's having a very blessed and wonderful beginning of a brand new week in October. We did get a bit of rain over the weekend, but still wondering whether, in fact, the overall levels of rainfall are down. I'm not too sure. We'll have to hear from the Met Office at some point, I guess towards the end of this rainy season, because of course the months of October and November, on average, the highest yielding in terms of rainfall for St. Lucia. It is sort of the peak of the rainy season, and of course that is really important for our water security. Water is life, as we quite often say, and of course we've seen the challenges all around the world as the world continues to heat up, and we're seeing the demand for water becoming so very much more crucial in so many different aspects. Of course, from the perspective of water demand, just having it to drink, having it for human consumption is very, very important, no doubt about it. And we've seen the impacts of drought on having the impact of famine, the loss of lives, and it can be tremendously devastating, certainly in some water scarce parts of the world where they've certainly become all too well known. The regions of the Sahel and many parts of Africa, for instance, have faced this as a perennial problem over the years. But of course, right here in what are supposed to be tropical islands, for some time now, there's been a look into the matter of the impact of desertification and whether that could very well become a significant problem into the future. We quite often take it for granted that we're near the equator, we're in the tropics. We think that there's always going to be a plentiful supply of water, but the reality is in fact very different, and we only have to look at some islands even within the Caribbean Sea, the likes of the ABC Islands, for instance, Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, and much of some of the coastline along Venezuela. Very, very arid, very dry, desert-like conditions, really. So we certainly do not need to take this for granted in terms of the potential impacts of climate change. Of course, water is also very important for the economic development, for industry. You will find that a lot of industry requires it. Of course, our tourism sector requires it in large quantities. And so you would find that the average person in a household, an ordinary household, uses about a third of what you would want to estimate for a visitor coming on island, because of the utilization of water for lots of different things, including things like swimming pools in particular, which don't normally find themselves in every single household. And so that is certainly of concern, and water conservation in industry is also a very important buzz phrase at this time. But beyond that, of course, water for energy is also very, very crucial as well. And we can see that in hydro being, up to this day, still the most cost-effective source of renewable energy. It certainly has been a major factor for many, many countries who have been able to become energy secure, in particular the electricity sector. And so the Nordic countries, Canada, for instance, have plentiful amounts of water, and so they're utilizing it in great abundance. But certainly even many countries that are industrializing, like China, significant investment in hydro. The Three Gorges Dam, of course, is the largest dam and hydroelectric power system in the world in China, but and they're still building more. And so the push towards hydro has certainly been very, very, very important for many countries, and also for developing countries. They too are looking to exploit that opportunity, whether it might be Uganda, for instance, that's opening up new hydro dams, and many other African countries are looking to be able to achieve the same, where they in fact have abundant supplies of hydro potential available to them thanks to very large river systems. Now, of course, there is also the issue of intermittent energy sources, renewable energy sources, as the world continues to look to green its and to decarbonize its energy. And the problem, of course, that we face is that you have quite a lot of sunshine, quite a lot of wind, but it's not consistent. It's variable. It will come and go depending on the cloud cover, depending on the time of day, of course, depending on lots of different factors. The wind may be blowing faster at certain times than others, and same for solar irradiation. And so as a result of that, the big question for moving forward for a lot of countries that are looking to bring on more renewable energy is that of storage. How do you store that energy to be able to provide a more consistent supply? In times when you don't have, you want to be able to actually be able to smooth out your production. And so that too is where water is in fact becoming a potential area of interest once more, and that is through the use of what are known as pumped hydro systems. Effectively, you can pump. You got two reservoirs, and when you've got a surplus of energy, when you've got lots of your solar electric systems are running, wind, whatever the case may be, you can store that energy by virtue of transferring it into potential energy. So you've got a lower reservoir and a higher reservoir, and in between those, you can effectively, when you've got a demand for electricity, you can then run your turbines, reducing the amount of water in the higher reservoir into the lower one, and in the reverse when you've got a surplus of electric production from your renewable energy sources. So there's lots of interest there, of course, in terms of water, and we do have to take the matter of water pretty seriously as we look into the future as a country. Now, on to another matter over the weekend. Interestingly enough, in Saturday evening over in Spain, on their national broadcast network, interesting bits of revelations were brought forward on what could very well be called almost a half-millennial old matter, and that of the matter of Christopher Columbus. And in fact, just 2 days ago, the 12th of October is the anniversary of the landing of Christopher Columbus on what is believed to have been Watling Island in the Bahamas. And that event, which happened back in the year 1492, is certainly still seen as a significant watershed moment in terms of the world, the globe as we know it. Of course, already at that point, there were significant efforts of early efforts of globalization. Individuals who were keen to trade, to bring goods from distant lands, and also technologies as well from these various lands, innovations coming out, spreading between Eurasia from east to west. And of course, we know of the names of individuals like Marco Polo very early on, that Venetian explorer who made his way all the way to China. And of course, the matter of the Silk Road was what was tended to be used in that pre-Columbus era, if you want to call it that. And even so, of course, that was very much challenged. There were significant shifts geopolitically in that period of time, most notably that of the rise of Islam. And you then saw significantly very strong Islamic caliphates or countries and empires being formed. In one instance, of course, one was the Ottoman Empire. And so many of these traditional routes through which trade plied or went through between Europe and Asia began to be challenged through increased taxation, greater issues of insecurity. And so this desire for finding and exploring new routes to Asia caused for a very interesting period of exploration. And the leaders of that time were, in fact, the Kingdom of Portugal. And Portugal, particularly through a gentleman by the name of Henry the Navigator, the king at the time, was very keen to build up a navy and merchant ships. And they began exploration by, in the first instance, trying to go around the coast of Africa, going around the Cape of Good Hope and seeking out new trade routes to the east, to India, to what were known as the Spice Islands, present day Indonesia, and many other regions in Asia. And so that effectively was going on for some time with the Portuguese being able to develop those routes and, in fact, establishing military and trading posts around Africa. And they, of course, had a great level of influence there, and in fact were some of the very early players in terms of the development of the slaving industry, if you want to call it that, with respect to Europe. And so beyond that now, of course, you then saw the rise of a Spanish kingdom, recently claiming lands that had been previously controlled by the Moors, Islamic kingdom that came across from North Africa and invaded the Iberian Peninsula and held it for many hundreds of years. And the unification of these Spanish kingdoms, Aragon and Castile, and Ferdinand and Isabella, led to this new desire to compete with Portugal in that way. And so it's within that context that you found the shift, of course, and this new desire to find these new trading routes. And Christopher Columbus was one of these individuals keen on being able to do just that. And so he set out in August of 1492, we are told, from a relatively small town. Today it's known as Palos de la Frontera, not too far away from the border with Portugal. And the rationale there, in fact, was that they actually had, they were effectively sort of, you could call them maybe a pirate town in some respects, because they were in fact able to engage in a lot of trade, which the Portuguese were in fact controlling at that time, but they were able to be part of that. And so from that town, in fact, is where he set out and eventually was able to make it across to the Americas, which of course he then thought were the islands of the East Indies, and he thought he had gotten to China, which is Cuba, and we thought he got to Japan, which was Hispaniola, and he kept on thinking that this is where he was at. Of course, we now know that this is completely not the case, and of course, eventually he died in the year 1506, wanting to in fact be buried in the New World, which did happen, and at some point his body apparently got moved back to Spain, to the city of Seville. And since then, though, there's been lots of course, of interest in the matter of Christopher Columbus, to the point where, of course, we have towns and cities named after him. We have countries named after him. Right here in St. Lucia on the, was it the 400th anniversary of his arrival in the Americas in 1892. The people of Castries decided to name the main town square after him, Columbus Square, which of course we've since renamed 100 years later after Derek Walcott. And so there has been this very interesting bit of interest in the whole life of the gentleman. But what is interesting is how there have been so many things that we've been taught, that seemingly are now being challenged thanks to the work of archaeology, thanks to the work of science, and in this instance, the power of DNA analysis. And it is really quite remarkable what can be deciphered now through the use of DNA, even if there may be small fragments of DNA. And in fact, there was this belief that Christopher Columbus was a gentleman who came out of the Italian city of Genoa. It potentially could have been what he told people, who knows? But it seems that the reality is very, very different. And so after 20 years of research, of DNA research, first trying to establish whether in fact the person, the bones, the remains of which were in that tomb, sarcophagus in Seville Cathedral were in fact that of Christopher Columbus, and who he was has been a matter of great interest for quite some time. And so, in fact, only just over the weekend, the results of that have in fact been announced, and the work being done by a DNA expert for the past 20 years. I think we have a very short video clip of coming out of France 24 news channel, which gives a little bit of input into some of the details coming out of this research, which has recently been announced. Just bear with us a little bit. We're just getting that sorted out so that we can actually play that for you.
Spanish scientists say they have confirmed theories that the remains of the 15th century explorer Christopher Columbus were in Seville Cathedral in Spain, and say a 22-year investigation including DNA analysis of those remains shows he probably wasn't Italian. Instead, they argue he may have been a Spanish Sephardic Jew. That conclusion was presented in a documentary on Spanish television to coincide with Columbus Day. A Spanish forensic expert says the most likely place of Columbus's origin is the Spanish Mediterranean or the Balearic Islands. Analysis of 25 possible locations, he says, were reduced to a short list of 8 and then even fewer possibilities.
The discussion has narrowed and focuses not on 8, but on a much smaller number of theories, all very similar. It is already a task for historians to interpret this data.
Christopher Columbus led Spanish-funded expeditions from the 1490s onwards and opened the way for the European conquest of the Americas. Many historians have questioned the traditional theory that he was from Genoa in northern Italy. The director of the documentary says the possibility Columbus may have been of Jewish origin is not new.
The theory of the Jewish origin of Christopher Columbus, of Sephardic Jewish origin, has always been, we say, an almost co-official theory of his own contemporaries, who lived at the time of Christopher Columbus. In the 16th century, there was already talk that Christopher Columbus could have been Jewish, and all the theories have always left this as a possible origin.
The findings are dramatic. The Jewish Chronicle quotes a historian who suggests Columbus hid his identity at the time of the Spanish Inquisition, with Spain in 1492 ordering the expulsion of all Jews who didn't convert to Christianity.
Right, thanks for that. And of course, quite interesting, of course, given the nature of how we know the history has been taught in the past, and now, thanks to the work of scientific research, being able to, in fact, provide such immense confirmation about this matter is very interesting. And of course, it tells, of course, a very, very different scene, a very different individual, an individual who may very well could have secretly been looking to create a new homeland for himself and individuals from which he hailed, of course, because at that time, Europe, of course, had very, very strong anti-Semitic sentiments, and as we had heard in that mention there were tremendous efforts to banish Jewish populations out of various countries, Christian countries, and of course Spain was very famous in the whole period of the Spanish Inquisition, which in fact, as well in Portugal as well, and which eventually led to many of what are known as Sephardic Jews. And Sephardic is a root from a Hebrew word which effectively means Spain. So in effect, Spanish Jews, they sought refuge in many parts of the New World, interestingly enough. And Jamaica, for instance, has a very long Jewish tradition in that regard. In fact, in Brazil, the record also shows that there were Sephardic Jews who were very much influential in establishing the sugar manufacturing process, and which would then spread into other parts of the Americas, and of course eventually made it to the Caribbean as well. And so we can see, very interestingly enough, this story of the New World, quote unquote, and this story of exploration perhaps had some potentially underlying desires, personal desires, from individuals like Christopher Columbus, who effectively had to hide his identity to survive, and to be able to branch out and to find the new world, effectively. But of course, very interesting little piece of history there, and rewriting of history, as the case may be. And no doubt there'll be lots to learn in that process. But that's our dish of the day. And when we come back, we're going to take in our weather report.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One tells for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tells for your balcony. Come down to Tells Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tells Plus, Tells Plus, Tells Plus. Big taxi for unbeatable cause. Customer service, A plus, this all kind of tasks come down to tax plus. We also got gasway and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody, we got the best as an island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Grozile, and Flag Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939.
Island style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island style.
We have tiles and thin sets, mixes and ground. Everything you need to sort the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality price, service choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Belarus, Rodney Bay, on the John Crompton Highway, Castries, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. Or call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And also, of course, the 1.1 is on time for your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talamba. The forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours. Winds will be blowing from between the east, northeast, and east near 18 miles per hour, 30 kilometers per hour. The weather partly cloudy and slightly hazy, becoming cloudy at times with scattered showers, mainly during the night. The forecast for the Lesser Antilles, partly cloudy skies becoming cloudy at times with widely scattered showers over the Windward Islands and areas further south. Over the Leeward Islands, fair to partly cloudy with a few showers. And the tropical weather outlook. Weak and stable conditions in the wake of a tropical wave will cause some scattered showers over the southern half of the Lesser Antilles during the forecast period. Another tropical wave associated with an area of low pressure located over the central tropical Atlantic is moving westward near 15 miles per hour or 24 kilometers per hour. This system has a medium chance of tropical cyclone formation during the next 7 days. And this was your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talamba.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Island style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island style.
We have tiles and thin sets, mixes and ground. Everything you need to sort the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality price, service choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Belarus, Rodney Bay, on the John Crompton Highway, Castries, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. Or call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
And welcome back to our program here at Radio Caribbean International. We've got about 18 minutes to go before the hour of 2 o'clock, and we're going to try to head to the phone lines at this time to take in some calls. And first call for the day. Good afternoon, and welcome to the lunchroom. What's on your plate today?
Good afternoon, Mr. George.
Hi, good afternoon, caller. How are you doing?
How are you? How is your family?
Very good, thank you. Thanks for asking.
I heard it today is
Yes, his birthday is today.
Okay.
So he turns 85.
Did you make mention of that?
I did.
Okay. All
Very early on. Yes, I did. Of course, I would have to.
You remember everybody else's birthday? You know, in the street. You would have to. Anyway.
Certainly.
Yeah, well, I just want to, I express my my joy that he has seen another birthday, and and he remains, and hope that he remain in good health to enjoy many more.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Well, thanks on his behalf.
Yes, okay. My brother, they're very, very, very interesting bits of history, but I wonder who taking in all these things, and I'm there listening, and I'm saying, I appreciate it, but it's like, for me, you preaching to the converted. For me, personally. Because, we know, Rasta people are not well read and delve into history, that to that extent and research, and maybe somebody like you would do to come up with all them things. But they're like Brother Bob said, there's something they could never take away from I and I, and this is the fire. I know Burning Spear has a song he made several years ago. His name is Columbus. Christopher Columbus is a damn blasted liar. That's the first line in the song.
Yes.
Christopher Columbus is a damn blasted liar. So, we always know that the account of history is based on lies. Notwithstanding they drilled that into us when we were at school. But Rasta people challenge that. That this guy is just a liar, All right? And we also knew that exploration and exploitation, barring a couple of letters, is the same thing. You know what I mean? Exploitation.
Right.
Exploration is synonymous to exploitation. And history gives a full account of these things. These explorers are always turn out to be exploiters. I don't know of explorers who really brought so much, to the people who they were exploring, the civilizations they were exploring.
Right. Well, the basis of the exploration, not in all instances, but in those types of instances, were usually about for gain, profit.
For gain.
Yeah. So that was. I'm not saying that they haven't.
Different. You want to put it kinda for gain. Okay, it's for gain, but usually not the gain of the people who they were exploring. All right, that makes it exploitation, doesn't it? Anyway, that said, now you also spoke about but that brings to the question, Mr. George, the validity and the authenticity of the sort of history, the account we've been taught and continue to teach, on our curriculum as far as history is concerned, Yeah, I don't know at what point are we going to seriously challenge it. Are we going to wait for a multiplicity of what you call this thing they did about Columbus?
Well, there has to be a more research done. You see, because the thing about it is that we've heard it many times. History is written by the victors, right? They're written by the individuals who win the war usually. So quite often, not all, but it tends to be skewed, and you have to be able to get multiple sources to be able to validate.
Yeah, but at the same time, colleagues, they say he was a what? Their conclusion is that he was more like a Stephanic Jew.
Yes, so they're saying that when they looked at his DNA, and this is from the DNA information.
But what I'm saying is that a few years from now, somebody else will do a research and say that is not so. He was not a Stephanic Jew. He was actually the son of an Arab trader. You know what I mean? And he will come out with some kind of research he did.
Well, I think what they're basing it on is genetics.
I don't know what authenticity, what verification from our people, from our intuition, that we need to question so much that we wait for all these things to accept that Christopher Columbus was a damn blasted liar. He just about lied about everything. You know what I mean? And to spend so much money, which we don't have, we'll never have, and to wait so much time to wait for, the exploiters, the former exploiters, to enlighten you is like expecting Pharaoh to lead you to the promised land. So all that too. Now, when we talk about this Marco Polo, interesting, but Marco Polo the two interesting things I don't know if you gloss over them, but that Marco Polo introduced on his explorations when he returned. Because every time he returned, because his travels had to be commissioned by the Vatican. He had to answer to the Inquisition. They had to bring him before council, the council of the Pope, and he's the one that introduced them to the use of paper money. Because the Chinese, as far as history, were the first to use paper money.
Mm-hmm.
Paper in exchange, as I exchanged something. You with me?
Yes, go on.
And of course, the widespread use of things, but not necessarily focus concentrated on warfare of gunpowder.
Right.
All right. So these are the two things that were changing. Were really game changing.
Well, in many respects, the Chinese were pretty advanced on a lot of various things. I mean, even in terms of the matter of the printing press. Now, in as much as, of course, it's Gutenberg who was the one who brought it on in mainstream, of course, within the European sphere, there had been technology that has been developed by the Chinese for printing as well. Perhaps it didn't get to the point of being spread in a way that it was in Europe.
They're the ones that really brought that to all toward the system of paper money.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, fast forward, Mr. George. Our current situation. I find, all right, now, opposition parties entitled to oppose. That's what they do. They want to get back into power. They look for issues where they think they could get traction and get support, and so on and so forth. But lately, I find that, these people treading on deadly grounds, you know what I mean?
What do you mean by that?
I mean that the rhetoric, they must temper it, They must temper the rhetoric. In other words, they seem, especially the leader, seems to be coming across as he's frustrated that so many things he feels or people express to him, which of course maybe his party members and other people, that's not going right. For example, the obvious ones to come with the price of food,
Mm-hmm.
price of gas, and so on and so forth. And this is not translating into protests, and people, he's wondering, but, and the thinking, this morning I heard a gentleman on another talk show expressing the fact that so much things, all these things, and he was very articulate and he has his point, outlining so many things that ain't going right, which of course we know.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But then, one to St. Lucians, we too docile, we should get up and think. So they asked him, the host asked him, you want to lead? That uprising you promoting, you want to lead? So sorry. His response is that he's not a lawbreaker.
Oh, so he's
encouraging people to go out there.
Oh boy. He wants people to break the law, but he doesn't want to. He's not a law breaker. Okay.
It's the kind of brinkmanship we're playing with there now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They find that the issues are so overwhelming that it should by now translate into people going out in the streets. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You understand that kind of thing? Because I remember, listening to the leader of the opposition sometime last week. He led to solutions we have to fight. Then he checked himself and said, well, I don't mean fight literally, but the rhetoric gone out already.
Right. Well, sedition is a criminal offense in most countries.
Yeah, well,
so yes, people do have to be careful with their tone and what they actually say.
And he went on to say about we have to bring back the George Odlum and Josie. And I'm saying to myself, man, was this guy really around? I wonder if this guy was really around the environment,
right.
That kind of environment that time. That is, if, and the point here again is that who's going to be George or Josie? Is it going to be him?
Well, I don't think so, and I think that is the. I mean, I'm not sure what is going to come of that type of attempt,
And you juxtapose that against the thinking that the people should rise up. sorry, something on my throat. Rise up. You understand?
Right.
Look at they're doing it in Martinique. This guy don't know what he's talking about. If that's what they want, and that's what they're beginning to see. You see, the people in Martinique said, these people fail to understand. Martinique is France,
Mm-hmm.
If the people mash up France, Martinique, the destruction in a few months, Khalid.
Yeah.
It belongs to them. If we do that kind of damage, burn down buildings and all kind of things in St. Lucia,
well, we're winning on our own buildings at the end of the day.
So I'm saying, who you go call to? England come and rescue us from our own people, our independent, who acted independent. These guys must be careful. Yes, you oppose, but you have to be responsible. And I don't know why it's so. They're not getting traction, especially they were expecting a lot of traction from that CIP thing. And it's not happening. In other words, people, how could them people be a little gold medal they win and they're in the streets jumping and dancing and like everything all right and they don't know what they go eat tomorrow. People don't work like that, You think because prices high and people facing all situations, crime high, and you tell people not to celebrate whatever small successes they achieve and great things. You have to glorify, these people didn't for 1 week, 1 day ease off the rhetoric, Every day like that, And given our current situation of crime, when these things happen, when they thing down, march down, the city.
What I've also noticed recently is that there's been quite a lot of discourse on racism, and almost to suggest that
you should be ashamed of saying
that
you're proud to be black.
Right, that Mr. Shastney,
you should be ashamed to say that you're proud you're black.
Yeah, and Mr. Shastney is suffering. He is a victim of racism. I think that is what is being put out there.
He's a victim of racism. The whole our main industry is based on satisfying white people.
Well, I mean, and the other thing about it is that Mr. Shastney himself in the past has used that when it suits him and when it's been convenient to him. I mean, he's on record as, referring to Kenny Anthony in certain ways, and I mean, so it's
black people who want to go there and think about anything they see to assert themselves and don't want to return to colonialism, thinking that it had a conscience, is a racist. And
well, let's just put it this way: racists never like to talk about race. Eh? They would never. That is not something that they want to have a conversation about. So
no.
Yeah.
But given the crime situation we're facing, like I tell you, I was in the middle of all these George Compton and things, the George Odlum and things there. And when the people were sending stones to mash up the show windows. This time, fast forward, you take stones,
Well, yeah. That's given our reality right now and the prevalence of guns.
You cannot rile up people like that, Calix.
Mm-hmm.
That's irresponsible. You have to oppose. Yes, oppose without necessarily wanting to see that, that channel a certain anger and hatred and acrimony, that you want to burn and loot, you want to do something to make them feel they're not listening to you, they're not answering your questions. Therefore, we'll make them feel. You'll make them feel, and you're not coming out. Come and lead it on.
Well, I mean, we all know that everybody has a right of protest, peaceful protest, and we've got freedom of the press, freedom of speech. Individuals can, and in fact, make, I'm sure, very ample use of it. There's a plethora of talk shows and opportunities to have dialogue out there.
So why use the rhetoric of things like encourage fight and Odlum and Jews?
Yeah, but that certainly, I think, is
implicit in that. It's not implicit. It's clearly that the kind of protest you're talking about is protest that will,
Yeah, that's going to cause harm and damage and.
You check one.
Yeah.
Because you find that you cannot understand how people not reacting.
Yeah, well, your point is very well made, and we definitely have to be very careful with the rhetoric that we use. That goes to everybody. All right, thanks very much, caller, for that contribution. And of course, it is a very, very important one. And I must say that I mean, one of the beautiful things about that juju effect that we've saw was that St. Lucians of all walks of life, all races came out, all minorities came out to share the moment, to share her moment, because it was clear that there was something that we could all be proud of as a country. And so that is really, really important. And I think we definitely do have to be very open-minded in this reality, in this globalized world that we live in. There's no space for racism, and division and xenophobia in such a small society. Let's take in a very short call before we end the program. Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom. What's on your plate today?
Hey, Alex.
Hi, caller. How are you doing? Haven't heard your voice in a while.
I'm there, man. I'm there.
Okay, go right ahead.
Listening to, I was browsing through social media, and I came across a clip, couple seconds, where Rick Wayne, they featured a Rick Wayne face, and it seems to be that his voice on the UWP proper popular Facebook page, United Pack.
Okay.
Asking for people to get angry. And Rick Wayne, in his design on asking for people to get angry, he using the Constitution. But they didn't play the whole thing. But they actually said that Rick Wayne is asking for people to get angry. That was the headlines. I'm saying that, why these guys are asking people to get angry? When people get angry, that means you are looking for chaos. Anger probably might bring fights. Anger might bring, there's a possibility you could get killing, looting, all kind of things can come from after anger if you are angry. Why would a man that asking for people to get angry based on the Constitution, but they didn't say what he was really in the clip, he didn't have what he was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
they like the fact that he's calling people to get angry.
So in other words, that clip was just taken. It didn't have a context, but they just took that thing about
Right.
anger. Okay. Uh-huh.
Yes. So, and in the Constitution, but yet still the same Constitution, you're asking people to break the law. Well, when you get angry, you will break the law, Alex. So you're telling people and break the law.
Well,
and angry about what?
Well, I'm not sure that we're saying. I don't know if that's what the clip is saying, because you could get angry and that could be you contain that anger. So I don't know fully what, but feeding off anger is a very dangerous thing, and we've seen that in the past. You know, it's
no. If you go back to the UWB platform in the Boulevard, where everybody was talking about getting enraged, getting people angry. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it seems, and you know, that Rick Wade have already said you have a vested interest in the UWB. So is it that's the narrative to try to arouse people to cause problems in the country? Is that what they're promoting?
Mm.
And if Rick Wade wants people to get angry, why he himself don't start come on the street and to start a protest? So you see what they want to do? Send people to fight for their vested interests. But it's sad.
Well, I really do hope that is
the rhetoric that the opposition will get to try to regain power, instead of dealing with policies of the government that they have issues with, but you want the people to rise up for something that they are not ready to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was proven that the work the Labour Party had, it says a lot. It tells you that people are still in favor of the government. If you juxtapose that to when Alan Shastri was in government, in 2017, there was almost 10 to 12,000 people on the streets. He got in power in 2016, 2017, there was a march. So that's the difference. So that's supposed to tell you that you still have not gotten the popularity of the people. But you're trying to preach that in a chaos. Then you'll come tomorrow and talk about the crime rate. How many people? I mean, it doesn't make sense.
We're going to have to end it here, caller. Thanks very much for that contribution. Because, of course, we're already out of time, and hopefully we can continue that conversation tomorrow on this program. Of course, tonight, don't forget, there is a match on the Darren Simon Cricket Ground. It's football, CONCACAF football, and St. Lucia is up against St. Martin, the second leg. So they definitely want to have a good turnout there. No doubt thanks to those 1,800 or so individuals who went out to see the match on Friday. Well, you've got another opportunity to come out to support the Peto boys tonight, and as they take on St. Martin's. And, of course, there's that first match, I think, is it Curacao versus Grenada? That'll also be on tonight. So lots of football to take in, and, of course, to support our athletes, to support our sports men in this instance. So we do hope that you can do just that. I'm your host, Alex George Jr., saying goodbye.